You think it's game? Y'all gon' make me lose my mind. Hey, yo, what's my name? Y'all gon' make me go all out. DMX. Y'all gon' make me act a fool. Hey, yo, what's my name?
What you
Y'all gon' make me lose my cool.
I tried so hard.
What you really want? What you really want?
But it doesn't even matter. I tried so hard.
What you really want?
It doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter. I tried.
Give me a sign. Dog, I meet bitches, the street bitches, slash, Cocoa Puff, sweet bitches. Say you wanna eat bitches, but not me.
I tried so
I
hard.
fuck with these hoes from a distance. The instant they start to catch feelings, I start to. What is it you want from a nigga? I gave you, you gave me. I played you, you played me.
And got so far. But in the end, it doesn't even matter. I had to lose it all.
Welcome to another episode of the Showcase Pod. I am Don Vega, joined by the boss, Chris Blackheart. Once again, we're here.
We are back for number 2. Oh.
And you made it out. You made it out of Taunton. You know, not as good as you wanted to, but you did.
Well, I mean, being sore, that's the difference, all right? So one thing people don't realize with Showcase Pro Wrestling, it has always been run by wrestlers.
Oh.
You know, and being a wrestler, I'm not a big
When
fan.
duty calls, you have
Duty
to
calls, you got to do it.
you
Some
gotta-
days with the young kids, they do. They need to get you get it.
they need to
Some
get
days you got to. They have to remember who you are.
Yeah, they
And
need to get the
forget
shit
it,
kicked
and
out
they
of
take
them.
it
Just
for
say it,
granted.
man. Just say it.
Some days you got to kick the shit out of the young
Yeah,
kids.
that's it. You
Or
know?
the disrespectful people.
Yeah, that's
But it should also the respect should turn around too.
So, you know.
So yes.
Speaking of respect, you know, what happened there with Thompson?
What do you mean?
You know.
Don't worry about it.
You know, we still the tag team champions. Puerto Rico most wanted. Alex Raiden, Don Vega.
All right. We're not here to glorify what you've
Okay,
done.
all
what you think
right.
you've done.
We'll get right
We are
to
here
it. You know, we'll
going
get
the
right to
episode.
it.
No,
Showcase Pod.
This is a serious one.
Yes.
But who is the prop to us?
Well, you know, it's brought to by Showcase Pro Wrestling, the fans. You know, we had different topics that we have put out in the introduction of the show.
Yeah.
And it was picked, the Darkside of New England Wrestling.
England.
And for the first episode of the Darkside of New England Wrestling, we're going to get into Dan Spider Quirk story. You know,
It's appropriate due to the time frame.
a couple weeks back, you know, it's the anniversary of his passing, tragic loss, you know, at a wrestling event in Taunton, Massachusetts. And, you know, a lot of questions. A lot of people said different things. Different stories were told.
Why don't we set the scenario with the people involved and it was Memorial Day weekend of 2000. Was it 2005?
2005 circa, yeah.
All right. So right there, I can't believe it's been that long.
Yeah.
But we were at the Taunton VFW right across from Joe Davis shop.
Yes, the car shop there. Yep. Cedar Street.
Cedar Street.
Yes.
It was a long weekend.
Mm-hmm.
It was, to me, that this is not the right weekend to run wrestling shows. You know, when I was a wrestler, I never thought of it as promoter. I don't run in that show. I know going to it, there was a lot of family events going, and that I was going to, and that we balanced it out.
Yeah.
And
That's what you did before.
Well,
Now kids want to take time off at birthday parties, family gatherings, cookouts. I mean,
birthday parties.
Yeah, we had to figure it out. We had to be at that show. We had to do our jobs as wrestlers because that's what we wanted to do.
Well, I always looked at it as that was the first priority. Everything else you worked around.
Yes.
And I mean, we may have to add a new topic is
Sacrifices, dedication.
Yeah. The sacrifice of being a pro wrestler.
Yeah.
And then because
that's a lost art.
That's a whole different story.
That's a lost art in wrestling.
Going back to the Dan Quirk story, I know at that time UCW was running. The promoter was Anthony Rufo.
Yeah, God rest his soul. You know, Anthony passed as well. You know,
And I mean, and we'll have stories about Anthony another time.
Yeah.
But at that time, Dan used to drive up with Like I call him the Connecticut Posse.
Yeah, like Nocturne and Dave Cole.
Dave Cole.
It's a lot of names.
Randy Shaw.
Randy Shaw, yeah.
When he
Jay
was
Buster.
when he was doing
Yeah.
Jay Buster.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I know myself, I was kind of surprised. So when he showed up and he was by himself, and Dan was always respectful, but it was I just thought it was weird. I'm like, oh, where's Connecticut Posse? And I think he kind of laughed, and I'm like, oh, he goes something like, guys couldn't make it, and he still wanted to wrestle.
Yeah.
So right there, it just felt odd. I mean, looking back at it, it felt odd when it happened because he always came up with.
The people, yeah.
The people
his
that came
guys,
with.
his friends, yep.
But
Yep.
it's like everyone else, like, oh, it's the weekend, people doing stuff. So
Yeah. Well, for me, I could tell you that, that whole day I woke up with this weird feeling. And I throughout the years, and it's just something about me that I get this gut feeling about certain things. And I had that gut feeling the whole day, which I thought something was going to happen to me personally. Mm-hmm. And I was telling my family that at home, and I was this close of canceling out on that show. But then, like you said, commitments. I've never missed on shows. I felt obligated. I gave Anthony my word I was going to be there, and that's what I did. But even going there, I felt this weird feeling like something was going to go down, but I expected something to go down with me.
Right. Which is
That's what I felt. I felt like I was going to get hurt, something was going to happen. But definitely an eerie feeling for myself that night. And if I recall back, the crowd wasn't as great. There was barely 25, 30 people there, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, I remember being in the scenario where I was on deck when this match went out, and we were the last two matches on the card. There were the earlier matches. A lot of people have left. I think you just had left.
And to this day, I think it's one of the. If I was there, I would have helped and been involved in some manner. Mm-hmm. But I am thankful that I wasn't there, because when you talk to guys who were there, as yourself, it was
It's shocking, man.
Shocking, bad.
It's scarred.
Bad,
I still think about it.
And normally, I normally don't. When I was wrestling, I didn't leave during intermission. I don't know why guys do it now.
Yeah.
You got booked at a show.
You will stay the whole show.
And we were going up to Kathy's family up in, I think it was New Hampshire or Maine that time, and we were driving, and it like I said, it was hard because I never. And again, you never did things, and that was the night they did something. So I remember I'm driving. I was going down a hill. I think it was New Hampshire, and then you called me, and it was something like, "You don't believe what happened," or it was something like that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And then,
yeah, I mean, like going back to once I was getting ready for my match that night, I was getting set to take on Eric Shred, the Widowmaker, and I remember seeing Danny in the little walkway, and jokingly I said, "Danny, there's nobody out there. Can you wrap it up quick so we can get the hell out of here?"
Yeah.
He's like, "Yeah, I got you. Don't worry." And he smiled, and he went out, and that's the last time that I saw him alive. After that, I sat down. And continuing the eerie situation, I sat down on a chair and I started to put on my entrance jacket and all that stuff. And I hear the most disturbing sound suddenly. It sounded like a Mack truck, kind of like that bang, and I knew something had happened. So I just got right up and went out. I just got out. I heard like screaming at the same time, and I just got up and went out there, and it was definitely something that I've never seen up to that point, to that extent. Definitely a hard situation to encounter.
so the match scenario, it was Spider going against
A highlight David Cash.
David Cash.
Yeah.
My impression is they worked multiple times together. I can't say how many times they did or didn't. But
I don't think I don't think Dan had worked.
I know they've been on shows together.
They've been on shows together, but I don't think he worked David Cash often because, like you said, the Connecticut Posse, those guys used to work together.
Yeah.
They worked a lot of matches together. I don't think that David and him had a lot of prior matches. They might have been in the ring once.
Similar style.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in theory, on paper, they would have clicked.
Yeah. It's similar styles. Dan was a smaller kid, thinner kid. David, a little bit bigger than what Dan was at the time. I mean, David was Dan back in like late 90s. He was like 140 pounds soaking wet. But this time around, he was a larger guy. And, they were in a match. And, from my understanding, Dan went to the outside of the ring. He ended up on the outside of the ring. And they had set up a spot where David Cash would fly over the top rope with like a plancha kind of maneuver. And the setting for the speakers and the announce table and all that was so close to the ring. The speakers were so close to the ring that when Dan went to turn around to catch, he had no time to protect himself. In order not to hit the table and the speakers, the impact, he just took it all on his head, and that fractured his skull and ultimately, killed him. So, but yeah, I mean, a lot of controversy went on after that. A lot of people pointing fingers. A lot of people saying that he was high, that he was, high on drugs and weed and there's so many stories that went on. I know that I reached out to Dave during that time. I know that there was a lot of talks about, if he shows up to Connecticut, we're going to beat the shit out of him. He's a murderer.
Well, that's the part that disturbed me. I mean, I understand like with friends, and I think a problem we had there too, I don't think his family understood how much wrestling meant to him.
Yeah.
And that was a problem too. And if I'm not mistaken, when they saw all of New England literally went down to the wake, my impression is that I think it was his mom had a change of heart.
Yeah.
That she couldn't believe that all these people that she never knew came to show respect and sorrow and condolences for the family and for him.
Yeah.
And I know I heard that stuff, and what do you do with Davey, and the thing that always got me is like, why would anyone think that he would do it on purpose? Because at first we didn't know how it happened. And we knew that he came out, no one knew about, years later, I remember people saying about the speaker. I'm like, what do you mean speaker?
Yeah.
And it was about the speaker and the footing, and it looks like he went so we wouldn't hit anything, the speaker, the table, and
he just didn't have time to space it out and protect himself. Yeah.
His feet was off.
Yeah.
Davey shot up and over.
Yeah, he was too high, so he basically his hips landed on Danny's head, and like I said, he crushed his skull.
And unfortunately, it was. I'm not saying it was a fluke, but unfortunately, that's the risk in wrestling that nobody ever wants to pay that price. Yeah. But we all knew when you go in there, when you first started training, people don't realize how serious it is. A lot of people think it's all bullshit and fun and games, but you're taking somebody's life in your hands. And one thing in wrestling that I learned is that you're walking in one piece. If you're walking in one piece, but you don't know if you're going to walk out the same way. So, you hope for the best. You hope, I say a prayer for the boys and myself every time I get in the ring, but I know I'm going in one way and I'm hoping to leave the same back home. But, life is crazy and full of surprises and things happen. But, speaking of Darkside of New England wrestling, after that, all the pointing fingers from every direction, all the switching stories, he was definitely high. Would have never happened if he wasn't fucking smoking weed and getting drunk and doing this and that and the other. So, for a while, I remember the first couple days, I reached out to Dave because we go way back. We go back to the Joe Eugenio days and us being teenagers at the time, wrestling together. I told Dave, you need to go to that service. And he said, no, they want to attack me. So,
I was very adamant about him going to this service and, showing that it was an accident, showing that he was sorry. But ultimately, he decided not to go. Ultimately, he decided, it'd be better off if he just kind of like lay low for a while. And it continued on for many, many years. And then, you could say more on after that and how he got back into wrestling,
Well, I mean, the stories that kept going around, 100% that he did it on purpose. He was high. Now, we all know Davey. Davey was known for smoking his weed, and that was him. I'm not a big fan, and this is going back almost 20 years ago where weed wasn't legal. I mean, I never liked weed. I didn't like if guys came in and the influence of any drugs or alcohol,
yep.
And to like when we run our events, same way. I don't like when guys come in, they can smell it, never mind drinking. I mean, we can go down stories of those. I mean, on the dark side, but do I think he did it on purpose? Absolutely not. For anyone to say that he did that on purpose, first of all, why? There's no logical reason why he would actually want to do that to anybody, never mind, Spider.
One of the guys that, not to cut you off, that I wanted to mention that was there from the get-go was Tim Kilgore. He went to the hospital. He was that line of communication, the news story and all that, because he was there right when it happened along with us, like I said.
That was weird because we didn't have them like these.
Yeah,
what do we have, flip phones?
Yeah, we have flip phones.
If I'm not mistaken, Tim only knew who to call because he looked at his call log and I think it had Mum.
Yep.
And I know like when we do emergency contacts and waivers for guys, I always tell people I never want to use this.
Yeah.
Because I think of that time.
Yes.
And I always tell people, do not fly out of my ring. Now,
well, that's why you started that.
And that's 100%. So I know a lot of guys give me shit. They go, oh, Chris, that's our style. But it's like, just for that reason, I would say fly in the ring, don't fly out. Because, again, I escaped it once. I was not there for it. I never want to be that person, at a show that has to make that phone call or go through that. Because I remember after that, Anthony in UCW was going to get sued. And I think Davey was potentially going to get sued, too, for second-degree murder or something.
Yeah.
Which is, and this is the power. Everybody, when it comes to wrestling, they have their views. It is very rare where people admit how real wrestling is.
Yeah.
And that was one of them. Everybody wants to, and luckily everything got dismissed.
Yeah.
Which goes into Davey. I don't remember the time frame of it, but he was like exiled.
Yeah.
For a period of time.
For a long period of time. And then, I think Candido, Jamie, was one of the first ones to let him wrestle on one of the shows. Yep. And then if I'm not mistaken, you were the first guy to let him wrestle as himself.
Well, and that's the story too. Jamie, who was running at the time Wheeling City Festival, they were going out to Fairhaven. He was wrestling underneath a mask for him.
Yeah.
And I remember we were doing North Attleboro Street Fair, and he came up and he talked to me, and he had his head down, and he was swaggering, and he was like, Chris, do you think, maybe I can wrestle for you, anything open? And I looked at him, and so, I don't remember exactly what I said, but I remember I said, yeah, Davey, ultimately I said, you're going to work the show. He was like, oh, do you want me to wrestle underneath the mask? And I remember I said, Davey, fuck that. I said, they go, Chris, I remember he said something like, Chris, you're going to get a lot of heat because people are saying this and that. I said, Davey, people don't like me anyway. And I said, for anyone to say that you murdered him is disgusting. And I said, Davey, you're going to wrestle as you, and let's take it from there. Yeah. And that's kind of, I remember at that time, after we did that, the Burning Hammer, which was a message board, came up.
Yeah.
And it was all this shit on Davey, all this shit on me. But the good part about that, other people, I think Ashworth jumped on there.
Yeah.
I think Brickhouse jumped on there. And it actually opened up a dialogue regarding, some of the stuff that happened, Davey's training. And
a lot of people try to say he was untrained when he was actually trained by Dave Souza, which was New England veteran.
It actually opened up.
Yeah.
But then you have the people for every year. I used to cringe when social media started. So when it really started,
The fucked up part
07.
about it is all these people that are doing that, you would think they were fans. These are colleagues. These are the boys. These are other wrestlers that were doing this shit to him. You know, and to go back years and you know that he was doing shows for Jamie, and then he started doing shows for you. The same people that would freaking dig the hole and throw the dirt right away on him started booking him, and they swept it under the rug like nothing ever happened.
Well, that's like a 15 years. So at that time, I remember seeing Jose Perez used to put everything up all the time.
Yeah.
I think Anna used to put stuff up all the time.
That's Ariel.
Ariel, yep. She used to put stuff up all the time. And I used to cringe for Davey because I'm looking at him like, there was stories going around that people were saying stuff, and I don't think he ever worked in Connecticut after that because there were certain areas, my impression, that he couldn't work at, and those who did book him was getting grief. But ironically, this year when it happened, just around the same date, I only saw, I think I saw one post. I think it was either from Jay Buster or it was from
Nocturne.
Dylan Cage.
Yeah, I think I saw something from Nocturne.
I
I think they share the same
see
one.
anything from like Jose and Anna, and I'm looking at it like, well, for 18 years you guys posted and supposedly we're talking, you know, not nice things.
Well,
and
now she works for David.
and now they're working for.
I think she's the
him.
women's champion.
I'm like, I mean, maybe and maybe this is where the truth comes out. Did they have, you know, a sit down and a reckoning and hopefully a conversation
apologies and all
to
this,
bring stuff up? But I'm sorry, if you told me for 18 years that I murdered,
I'm a fucking murderer.
I, you know, I'll let and we're going through some stories, and we can have some recent stories about offenses being mended and conversations.
And again, any of these names that are being mentioned, if they want to join, and
come on down. I've had the same number. I've had the same number for like 27 years. You can always dial it. This is not burying anybody. This is telling the truth. If you don't like the truth, that's not my fault.
Well, you know, the truth hurts sometimes.
Well, no, and
a lot of people don't like
truth hurts, and reality can hurt too.
Yeah, people don't like the truth, so you know.
But I mean, I think the positive part about it is, you know, Dan obviously is not forgotten, and you know the legacy of. I mean, this is one of our darkest stories that we were involved in New England.
Yeah.
And like I said, I'd never want anyone, promoter-wise, worker-wise, you know, hopefully that never happens again. Hopefully we can learn from it between, I mean, if you look at just going down the setup, you know, keep stuff away from the ring, work safe.
You know, unfortunately, you see it all the time where guys are getting hurt doing all these flips and all these stunts and maneuvers because, you know, as time goes on, they do more and more, and the fans become accustomed to certain things, and then the next thing you know, you got to be getting shot out of a freaking cannon to get a reaction.
And that's the problem, too. When's enough? And it's worse, like you said, when stuff doesn't get over with the crowd because they're just so used to it, which ironically can go into a segment for one of our sponsors this week, is for the Showcase Wrestling Training Center. New revamping recently we're adding another day. So we have Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, 6:30 to 9:30 and 126 Main Street in Woonsocket. We have a new trainer that joined. Trainer or coach? Which one do you like?
Coach.
You know?
That's the accelerated program.
We call it the accelerating program because more trainer, more training time, and
ultimately you wanna learn from somebody that's been there and, you know, has the experience. You know, our new coach Kenny Dystra, however you wanna prefer to call him. You know, tons of experience. Started here in New England. You know, it's a guy that's traveled the world. He's been former NXT coach, former WWE talent, tag team champion, I believe, at one time. And he's working with guys not only that are starting their path in pro wrestling, but guys that are currently working and getting them to that stage, that level that they want to be TV ready. Because there's a difference between just working independent shows and what you would need to make it to the next step, which is, you know, television and working for the big time.
I think the biggest thing by literally teaming up with Kenny is I don't know about you, but some days people look at you as you're the old guy, you're the guy who didn't get signed with WWE, and here's a guy that worked at that level, and we sit back and we watch, and when Kenny is doing what he's doing in the ring, and a lot of stuff is not different that's being said, but it's a different way of saying it, and they're seeing the results. I think doing this, I think they can feel like they can touch it more.
And definitely, you're getting it from the horse's mouth, and if you want to step up your game, if you're a wrestler currently on the indie scene, you want to step up your game, you want to be considered for that next level, you want to be TV ready, this is something that you should be jumping at. I'm not just saying it because I want you to come down, and we want your money, but obviously you're gonna get the payoff off of it. You got to invest in yourself.
Well, I think that's what it is. No matter how long you've been doing this, and we just had the conversation earlier today, is you always want to get better.
Yeah.
You always you're watching footage. If you're not learning, you're digressing, and I think that's the biggest thing. So if you are a wrestler that has been in New England for up to 25 years, and you want to go to that next level, push it, and guess what? A lot of the older guys that we've been talking to are coming down. It's not just they go, well, I don't think I'm ever gonna, get signed or do something with WWE.
That seems to be the excuse.
But guess what? You can't always go in the ring.
Yeah.
But you can learn the production side of it.
Yeah.
The booking side of it. And guess what? If you can contribute and to make the next generation better and further than you did, just because you're learning, that is a positive.
Yeah, that's a positive.
And some days maybe you can realize why you didn't get that level. Or if you were a younger guy, you took some time off and you need to get rejuvenated and redirected.
Yeah.
We've had a couple guys come down and they're like, wow, I didn't know this is how you guys do it. Because going back to rumors and lies, there's a lot of people that would say stuff about our promotion and our training center that's never been there.
Yeah.
And if you're not there, you don't know how we do it.
Yeah,
and
they go by word of mouth, yeah.
We have an open door policy when it comes to talent. It doesn't matter where you trained out of, where you work out of. If you want to get better, come through our doors.
Yeah.
And we don't have to like you or you don't have to like us, but let's have a conversation, because I guarantee that there was some misinformation that you either heard from or you got said, and then people like, I didn't know. Mm-hmm. And thank you. And then it opens up a whole new relationship, which I think is awesome, because in this business, you're either building bridges or burning them.
Yeah.
And in my stage of the career, I have no problem burning them. And this is going to be a lot on the podcast, because it's a lot of stuff that is misinformation. And I've been the guy that I usually don't say anything. But now when the stuff comes out with the rumors and stories and literally our side.
And we have all the topics here,
Some people are going to be shocked. So why don't you go, now, instead of putting it out there, why don't we just SP Wrestling on
all social media. Instagram.
TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. You want to find it.
ShowcaseProWrestling.com. All the info's on YouTube.
YouTube is big.
Yes.
The producers are bugging out right now.
Yeah, he's over here flipping out.
YouTube. We are, if I'm not mistaken, we're about, was it 600 and something?
No, we're 700 and we're 800 subscriptions. All right, so what we want to get to 1,000. That's the mission.
We want 1,000, and some of the other things that are happening, right? Or do you want to go in the new stuff that's happening?
Yeah, so we're getting geared up now to the summer events, and the next summer event that's coming up, other than a big weekend, a big weekend with the Hall of Fame, New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame, the Fan Fest.
I call that. We actually finally have to get Don Vega over, because no one else will.
Yeah.
But no, and I'll be honest with you. That is New England Hall of Fame. To me, is I haven't gone to many of the dinners. I don't think I've ever gone to any dinners, but the idea is we can get all of New England together.
Yeah, I like the stories.
Have a couple of drinks, have some stories, maybe mend some fences.
Maybe fuck some fences. Who knows?
No, that's fine. But the idea of it is to say thank you for those who are before us. And I know at the training center, we're going to have quite a few of the guys come down there. to mingle, listen to stories, and thank you for helping them with certain stuff.
So big weekend that week. Like I said, Hall of Fame, Fan Fest, and then we go to the Puerto Rican Festival in Providence, Indian
We should just
Point
rename
Park.
it the Crazy Puerto Rican Festival.
Yeah, the crazy. We're all crazy.
Because I love, again, as I said, I love the passion that, especially when it comes down to the wrestling part of it. Anyway, I don't like getting hit with batteries.
Well, yeah.
We're all getting a
See,
SWAT.
those are the stories, though. A lot of people have different stories about Puerto Rican wrestling. You know, the battery, the cups full of piss, and all this stuff. Some people that haven't even watched Puerto Rican wrestling.
Right,
That's the
you know
fucked up thing about it.
Before maybe we have an episode on my favorite is typically if you're a white guy or a gringo, right, and you want to get heat with the crowd, you grab the Puerto Rican flag.
Oh, we've had that happen before.
And I love it because I always tell people, you can grab it all you want, but you got to get ready for the heat. And some people do not understand the heat.
They don't want to get burned, man. They
Right?
want, they
And
want to
I'm
start
like,
the fire. They
and
don't
we
wanna
can
get
tell
burned.
those stories. I'm like, do not grab it if you can't handle it. And I think it's the funniest thing that people think they really want it, and then they can't handle it.
So this time around, you know, I know we had a rough patch last year.
Well, do you know what? Last year, if I'm not mistaken, it was newer people taking over and working. We worked out with them, and guess what? We've been doing this for years, and guess what? Sundays is growing pains.
So this time is going to be on the money. It's going to be a great show.
Do we have a time?
That's going to be starting from 1 p.m.
Right.
at the Indian Point Park, July 30th, which is a Sunday.
Which is Sunday is perfect.
You know, so we expect a lot of big booty chicks and a lot of good food, and you might dance a few moves. I seen you doing the TikTok and
I don't
teach
dance.
you some salsa.
Listen, I get rhythm, and it's not for dancing. Okay.
Oh, okay. Well, you know, it could be for other things. So
As producers trying to tell me something, what are you saying? You might as well just say it. I can't read
yeah.
lips. It's live. All right. So for the first time in a long time, we are running all through the summer through Woonsocket. So July 14th.
We'll be at the Showcase Arena.
Showcase Wrestling Training Center. And then we're also going to be in there in August. What was the date? August 11th. Do you want to make the announcement now?
Go ahead.
We might as well do it. So the first time ever in, 2 decades maybe? Is that safe to say?
Yeah.
I can remember the last time in the Armory, I think.
Yeah, it's been 2 decades. Yep.
2-ring battle royal in Woonsocket at the Showcase Wrestling Training Center.
And I think it might be some matches signed too.
We will be posting those. Maybe we'll have some people in here regarding it.
Yep.
But yeah, first time in over a decade or two.
Yeah, we're gonna be live on.
I don't want to go live. No, I don't want to go live because we don't get paid if I go live.
So
yet.
they gotta buy.
We get paid, we'll go live. But in that case, we do have breaking news. Showcase Wrestling merchandise and individual wrestling merchandise is coming out soon. It's been a learning curve to say the least.
Are we gonna get a shirt from Blackheart Tied Up from a few years ago?
We'll talk about that one.
Oh, okay, all right.
But no, if the merch team can get that, I do have a problem with the shirt.
You know, the merch people. Speaking of the merch people, I saw this Markov shirt. It said "I hate Chris." You know how that?
Oh, you love that shirt? The one that I like?
Yeah, the Love Chris one. They turning it over.
That's
It
an
says
awesome
"I
shirt.
hate
that
Chris."
shirt is over. Right. So those were my. Do you know the story behind that one?
No, but
Right.
that's for the story part. We're getting derailed.
All
Here.
right,
We got to
that's
get
good
back
story.
to
But
the
that
dark
merch
side.
shirt is a great story. All right, but no, we're going to start out with individual T-shirts and other stuff coming up on the live events coming up for Showcase Pro Wrestling. But as always, showcasewrestling.com for information, training with our accelerated program, SP Wrestling on all social media.
That's Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. You want to hit the bell notification so you can see when these episodes right here drop. And you want to like us or dislike us or leave us a comment. I don't know.
Well, no, feedback too, right? So if you like the format, if you don't like the format, don't be quiet.
Yeah.
Right? Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't
I
like.
mean, we can
Tell
take
us
it.
the topics that you want, the people that you want. Drop names that you know do not get along with Don Vega. All right? Drop names that supposedly I don't get along with or they don't like me. What about the people that we don't even know they don't like us? We'll bring them in.
You know what it is? A lot of people get along with me when I'm there. But when I leave,
Right.
that's it.
No, but have those in. I mean, we have to be in the same room. We can't have open dialogue, and we can't have arguments regarding
Can't have the
lies.
internet police or the pedal police or
No, all right, no, we can't get in that. We can't get into that because if we do that, then we have to drop a name,
Yeah.
but that he can get his.
We'll save
his
that.
papers.
We'll be coming back with more topics. The only way to get notice is by commenting, leaving a
You
comment,
gotta comment.
checking,
You just gotta
checking
tell us.
out, and letting us know what you want to hear next. You know, we have the list up. It's on our social media, but you know, Dark Side of New England Wrestling. You know, this was a tough one for me because for a while it affected me. You know, I actually didn't wrestle for 2 months after that incident, and you know, it was kind of like. It was tough. It was tough. It's still tough every time I go by there, go into our buildings, and you know, definitely Dan. It's not forgotten.
No.
You know, again, I want to say my condolences to his family, his friends. You know, he's dearly missed in the wrestling community, and you know, we do miss him.
Could have been better said. And with that being a wrap up, we do thank everyone for chiming in, listening, watching, and commenting. Drop a new episode next Friday. Friday's our drop date. Is that when we're doing every Friday?
Every Friday, yeah.
We're going to be dropping new content for the show. With
That's
that
all
being
we
said,
had for this week, right? That's all
it.
we had.
That's
So
it.
for the Showcase Pod, this has been the boss, Chris Blackheart. I am Don Vega. Guste o no le guste, esa la que hay. We'll be back next week with more. We'll catch you down the road.